All right, welcome everybody to the comic panel. I'm Cody.
I'm Taylon.
And I'm Shawenta.
And today we are covering Not All Robots, written by Mark Russell and Mike DiDato Jr. The colorist is Lee Lowridge, letterer Steve Wands, and cover artist Raza. And this is published by AWA Upshot. And also, I just want to clarify that while Mark Russell and Mike DiDato Jr. are both credited as writers, Mike DiDato Jr. Did the artwork for this. Gotcha. Obviously, other than the color and covers. So yeah, basically, I chose this book this week, and the reason I chose it, honestly, I don't quite remember how I heard about this book. It was probably on Mark Russell's Twitter. I follow him on Twitter, and it was probably just like, hey, this is my new book. And I was like, hey, that sounds interesting.
Oh, gotcha.
And then I put it down on my list. So yeah, but yeah, I guess that just speaks to, I'm a fan of Mark Russell's work. I've read, his Flintstones. We read Prez on here.
Really? That was him?
Yeah, that was him.
Oh, he likes satire. Though.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, lots of satire work he does. Yeah, in this book, Not All Robots, it takes place in the year 2056 in the city of Bubble, Atlanta. And basically there's all of these bubble cities, and everywhere else is completely destroyed. You know, the environment, it's just burned down in rubble. And everybody lives with artificially intelligent robots, and basically they, like humans, are kind of glorified pets to these robots. You know, they still have a level of autonomy, obviously, though, so they are kind of dealing with that. And so yeah, basically it follows the family of the Walters and their housebot, what is it, Razorball?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Razorball. And basically, the housebots, they go to jobs, and then the children still go to school, but the rest of the family just kind of gets to live and stuff like that. And there is a lot of robot-human tensions developing, especially after a climate control robot accidentally kills everybody in Bubble, Orlando.
Yeah.
Accidentally, air quotes.
Well, they said, it's just a glitch. It wasn't intentional, but then there's a ton of speculation over, was it that bad, really, that it was just that happened? You know, they have such a short lifespan already.
Well,
It's just a little shorter now.
I still question whether or not that was an accident. Because he still came out and he was like, hey, everybody, yeah, I'm part of the, I'm like the hero now.
Well, that's the thing, right? They have a lot of the robots say, you're having so much trouble dealing with humans because you have an empathy chip. You can just disable it. Look at this. So,
Yeah. In my mind, it seemed maybe he had his empathy chip disabled, but also I think that it was just using the situation to his favor, basically. It may have been an accident, but then it was all hey, lots of people like me for this now, so I guess I'm going to
if you don't care enough, if you follow that thing of, it doesn't matter because their lifespans are already short, I'm not going to get punished for this, then what do you care? I mean, especially that super satirical point where he goes up to get not indicted,
Oh yeah,
court.
Yeah, there's like a justice robot, you know, and it's basically
He
all
just
like,
walks up to it and plugs in his hard drive or
yeah,
his little USB stick of "This is my defense," and within a few seconds, not even a few seconds.
yeah, it's like 0.32 seconds, and it's all like, ding, you are acquitted.
Yeah. Well, and then I will say, like, my other defense for like why I think that it wasn't so much an accident was because there's something that happened on page 11 where this robot was like, "I'm coming here to improve your performance," and just starts whacking him with a broom. And I'm like,
Yeah, so that's
but I don't know if that's actually like a actual robot going in and like, "I'm actually trying to improve your performance."
right. Yeah, I'm not sure. That was on page 11 of the
Of volume 1.
of volume 1
Or issue 1, sorry.
Oh, issue 1. Well, yeah, okay. I'll have to like, I can't find that part exactly, but I guess I'm not understanding the connection though to
Seems like tampering is what I'm saying.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. No, I don't think that there's any tampering. I think that it's like truly they just are able to malfunction or like, or it's not like malfunction. It's like later on in the book, there's the part where the algorithm of a self-driving car goes wrong, you know, and it hits a person, and then it's all like, you get level 2 compensation, and like dispenses money out the back.
But see, that car right before it hit it said, "Hey, human, move out of the way." Oh, you didn't move out of the way.
Well, it said algorithm glitch. I mean, but if you shout algorithm glitch, it's sort of like as you're driving your car, you're like, accident.
Yeah.
And then you hit somebody. It's like, you just saying it, or was it really an accident?
Right. Yeah. So basically, I think that, you know, the robots are just fallible, you know, and they're like, basically, they are presented to be like totally infallible, you know, totally logical, but they still rely on fallible programming.
And still unable to hurt human beings. At least they were intended to be programmed that way.
Right. Yeah. The obviously later on in the story, there's the
Mandroids.
the mandroids. Yeah.
Who have a much lower violence rate to the point where they are running away from violence.
Yeah. They do not protect their owner at all. They look a lot more like humans, and they are like super nonviolent and will run away from violence.
Yep.
And I guess I should mention the housebots that were before the mandroids. They look more like, you know, stereotypical robots, you know, made of metal and, you know, just like very, I don't know, cartoon robot. I mean, realistic enough, but yeah. So yeah, I think that's kind of, you know, basically the patriarch of the family. I can't remember his name, but Donnie. Yeah. He is. He's kind of like pro robot, where the rest of the family is very afraid of Razorball. Yeah, he sees that him as like the provider for the family, and like, you know, just very thankful for the like future that they live in. And meanwhile, the kids are very disillusioned with the robots and stuff, and they eventually join the human resistance.
Yep. And it's also, Razorball is kind of like depressed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, he has a very like kind of well, not a menial job, but like
customer service.
Yeah, customer service. He's just not fulfilled by his job, and it's also involves creating his replacements. You know, creating the mandroids.
Yeah, he's showing probably the council, right? Around. He's showing them the mandroids. Yeah, they'll be way better in these ways. And you're just talking about something that he knows will replace him.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, yeah, and that leads to him, like, locking himself in the garage, basically, never talking to the Walters at all. And, yeah, just, like, he starts building weapons, which is, like, yeah.
Yep.
And that's later in the story. He
Yeah.
goes to that resistance. Do you like that where it's very mirrored? They're both resisting. We must resist them.
Right. Yeah. So, yeah, what did you guys like about this story?
I would say all of it. I liked all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the I guess political intrigue was really good. Just having, because like and as a part of, like, on a side, they showcased this talk show called Talking Bot. And so I was like reading that, I was like, oh, okay, cool, but like I will say, like, I enjoyed it, but I did get very mad reading this book. so like I enjoyed it because of that. Like, at the very least, I was like, I got some emotions reading this.
Did it feel topical in some way, even?
Like, not to real life, no.
Okay.
But like in terms of being a part of the story and in their own world building, like I was very entrenched in that.
Well, you said it was satire, right?
Well,
Okay.
it definitely is.
I mean, literally the front cover says "Great Satire."
Yeah.
So
Right.
But I was like, my enjoyment of it did not revolve around how similar it was to what's going on in real life, kind of thing.
I mean,
I don't know if that's what you're trying to say.
there's definitely a sort of stance it has that mirrors to real life. That a stance some people have. I mean, whether you agree with that or not, I do. It's weird because I don't really want to get into it just yet about what the author says this book is about, because I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
man.
is this like like the author?
The other blurb at the end,
I didn't
he
read that.
says, yeah. Well, don't read it yet.
Yeah.
So I don't want to bring it up yet. I want to discuss what we think about it before we get into what the author thinks it's about.
That's fair.
Yeah. I will say, yeah, I guess I am interested to know that because I didn't read. I wanted to. I just ran out of time. But I did feel like sometimes this, I guess this is kind of getting a little bit into not likes, but it's not a not like. It's just there, But basically, sometimes the satire felt a little bit messy. Just that, I liked the allusions to the real world, but it was also like, it wasn't like so corollary that it was clear what it was always talking about, I guess. And so, yeah, basically, I think that, still focusing on what I enjoyed about it, though, was just that, it made some, like, good points of, the ways that there's, like, basically, towards the end, basically, it kind of talks about how, like, robots and humans are pitted against each other because it's, like, better that way for the people, the what are they called? The
council?
The council, yeah.
I mean, that's the thing, right? The council seems to benefit no matter what. And they even say that. They're like, well, we roll out the mandroids, and then what is it? It riled up tensions enough that a bunch of the robots acted out. And so it encourages more people to buy mandroids.
Right.
And it also means that we can scrap a ton of the obsolete droids. So either way, win-win. We're 5 people, as they say in, like, the history book or the history lesson that the kids are learning in school.
Yeah.
It's just 5 people who just happen to be probably holding the right stocks at the right time, where it's like, found robots.
Yeah. I also, like, just, like, on the other end of, like, what satire does, it was funny. There's like lots of funny parts.
I mean, that's the thing, right? It's satire, so there's definitely they really want to push it with the like. There's very violent moments, which have also like really funny moments, like right next to each other. God, what is it when the neighbor gets the mandroid and it just looks like his wife?
Yeah.
And then, well, it looks like, so, you know, the neighbor to the
Walters.
the Walters the neighbor to the Walters gets a mandroid, and it just happens to look like the mom of the Walters family. Just happens.
Yeah.
Is that like?
Well,
It's so soul crushing though. Like the husband looking over, his wife is not left him. She's been.
Not at that time, right? Did that happen?
yeah. Well, yeah. Not immediately.
No, it's in. No, at that point, wasn't she up for trial?
No, not yet, because he gets the grandma.
Oh yes.
mandroid
Okay.
first.
Yep.
Also, that was weird.
Yeah.
I will say, like,
I don't think that was his mom. I don't think that's his mom.
No.
That's the mom's mom.
yeah.
Yeah.
I will say, like, at the point where, like, he's looking across the street, seeing that
So
dude,
cheesy.
I felt like he really didn't have much soul left to crush. I just,
That man is making smoothies for his robot every day.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
in
I
a
love my
little
robot.
apron.
I mean, that's the thing, right? I find it really interesting. They have the characters very openly try to talk to each other at some point. Like, most of the time they don't, but they have towards the end before tensions really come to a head. You know, the dad goes and talks to, well, Snowball now.
Yeah, that's right. When the mandroids kind of or no, it's right before the mandroids roll out. There's
a lot of, man, those robots that haven't been replaced yet sure seem scary. Guess we'll have to give them nicer names.
Yeah.
Marketing. Was it Hugsbot and then Snowball?
Yeah, Muffin Lord, I think.
Yes.
Well, yeah. So, like, that was like the ruling council, or Omni, I guess. Like that was their way of trying to address the situation.
Yeah.
It was like, we'll just rename them, right?
I mean, it's not a fork if you don't call it a fork anymore. You call it a spork.
More like, hey, you want a piece of cake? How about I split you halfway? You get a brownie, okay? That fixes it,
I'll call
right?
it cake.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it is very, very jokey. But yeah, you know, Snowball, they're trying to talk to Snowball because Snowball even more feels humiliated. I think it might be before he loses his job or just right after.
I think it's
The
still
dad-
before.
Yeah, before. Well, I think the mom talks to him afterwards, after he loses the job.
Oh, yes.
Because there's
yes.
the two, there's the dad and then the mom. So the dad talks to him and pretty much heart to heart, or at least as best as he can. He's really like, he's so patronizing is the problem. Because he's like, he's empathetic to him, but it's in such a way that just feels weird.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of why Snowball has trouble connecting with that or feeling any sort of like camaraderie.
Yeah, he definitely he says it, I think, in the beginning. I won't be able to find the panel or whatever, but basically, like, he's talking to his best friend at work, and he's all like,
This is Razorball.
Yeah, Razorball. And he's like, yeah, you know, like my family, you know, they try to like talk to me, but I just like, you know, like it's basically, I don't think he uses the word patronizing, but he like,
He says it's their way of trying to pretend to care.
yeah, trying to pretend to care. Yeah. It's like, yeah, so it's definitely like this total disconnect that I don't think that they ever get through, you know?
Yeah. See, I don't know. To me, I wouldn't use the word patronizing. I would just, to me, he seems just like really weak. Like he being Donnie, the dad. He just seems like a weak person. And so to me, like he doesn't know any better way to behave or try to connect with a robot than
I
than
don't
that.
know. Because someone's weak and they come to you with like, I can relate to you and this and that. Well, if that's the case, do you think then the reason that Snowball rejects it, is it because someone weak is coming to him? And so it makes him feel weak? Oh, we can relate to each other? Because I sort of saw it as he more just sees him as sucking up to him. He can't recognize it as a genuine emotion because, I mean, the dad seems to be unable to express himself genuinely.
I don't know.
I'm just trying to describe how
Yeah.
Snowball rejected him.
Yeah.
Like, why? Understand that.
Yeah.
I kind of thought it was more like Razor Ball is like, I'm done with you people. I am here just because I'm supposed to be here. But
So
don't try to relate
maybe
to me.
it's just too late, you
Yeah.
know? I mean, I do feel in that way it is a little too late.
Yeah.
I think it probably is that the dad is saying out loud the parts that Snowball just doesn't want to admit. You're going to keep calling him a Razor Ball, and I'm going to call him Snowball. I'm sorry. That is the name that stuck for me.
Gotcha.
Because I came here and I was like, Snowball. What was the name before? I couldn't remember. Snowball.
And they didn't repaint him after that. So he's a red robot and call him Snowball. Make that make sense.
Some blood in there.
Blood Ball.
So the dad literally says, they're afraid of you. You know what it feels like to be replaced, to feel inadequate. And Snowball reacts. He's like, I am not inadequate. Like, he feels very disgruntled at this,
Yeah.
not necessarily projection, because he totally feels that, but he doesn't like it. He doesn't like exposing that. He doesn't want to be vulnerable. I'm the only thing keeping this family afloat. Don't you forget it. And of course, the dad just caves in. He's like, yeah, of course. Okay, so I didn't mean to upset you.
Yeah.
I love him.
I'll just say it right here. Like, I was, first words out of the dad's mouth, okay. Everything after that, no. Just disliked this dude more and more the more he talked.
Yeah. That's pretty much
I don't
him.
think you're supposed to like him. He feels like a kiss up all the time, right?
Yeah.
Like, even if he is trying to relate to their droid, he's just so weaselly about it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he's like even a weasel to his own kids.
Yeah, and his kids definitely don't respect him, which I
No.
mean is like
That's
totally
fair. That's
fair. Yes.
Yeah, it's totally fair.
Okay,
Yeah.
I think one of my favorite parts was the fact that they're like, people are too scared to get their hair cut by droids. That's why hairdressers are the
Still-
only human job, and they end up becoming the resistance fighters for the humans.
Yeah, that was pretty awesome. It's just like, okay.
Just a bunch of hairdressers gathering together
Yeah.
to fight for the human race.
Yeah, and when they're about to like go attack, he's like, I'm just a shampoo specialist. I can't use a weapon.
I feel like there totally would be more jobs that like people would be scared of droids doing.
Yeah.
If you're scared of getting your hair done, are you gonna let a droid do surgery on you?
I mean, they already have so many machines in medicine, though.
Then why not one do your hair?
Because it's
Well, at
sharp
that point,
stuff, right?
guess-
You are knocked out.
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to say you're probably going to get your hair done a lot more often than you're going to
Yeah.
get surgery. So, do I want to contend with a droid every Friday?
Yeah, and you're not supposed to get hurt getting your hair cut, but you could not survive from a human doctor.
And this is
doing
the part where I
surgery.
would go into a tangent about the amount of times doctors have left things in people.
Yeah.
So often.
See, they just
Still do it, though. Maybe you'll get an extra little prize.
extra prize.
Not one that I want.
I left scissors in a dude the one time.
Oof. That was some hard kidney stones.
Found out later.
Oof.
But yeah, dead Weasley.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like, yeah, I liked the part where like his wife, Cheryl, is basically like, like she's kind of like wants to bring it up gently. She's like, do you think that maybe before the robot replacement, your time as an assistant manager might have like made you a little bit subservient? You know? And it's just like, yeah, like, and it doesn't get really expanded on, obviously, because he doesn't want to, like, he doesn't even want to admit that he is subservient.
He just thinks he's doing the right thing.
Right, yeah. But it is kind of like, he's just like, you can imagine him as an assistant manager at, like, Lowe's or something, just, like, always sucking up to the boss,
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like it is, I don't know. I guess I could, like, if you weren't fulfilled as an assistant manager, but like you weren't brave enough to look for other opportunities, I can see how that might affect like how you are around your family. You know what I mean? I don't know. I feel like just saying like his time as assistant manager isn't a good enough reason for him to act the way that he does at home.
I mean, they try to frame it as, because there's a lot of robots who feel very well. There's the two sides, and what is it? The humans they feel subservient to the robots. They feel dependent on them, and that they are stuck, being dependent on them. As the daughter of the Walters family says, or the daughter and the son. The son's pretty much like, I'm learning stuff for jobs that don't exist anymore. And the daughter's like, yeah, all I have to look forward to in my future is which robot am I going to be dependent on? That's the only choice I have.
Yeah.
And at the same time, on the other end, the robots are pretty much like, I'm stuck with a bunch of dependents. I have no real choice. I have to work for them. And so I'm stuck in this endless loop of, making money for them but not feeling equal to them somehow. They get to live such an easy life.
Yep.
They get to do whatever they want. And while I have to like feed them. And the humans, meanwhile, are like, I have to rely on a robot every day to come home and feed me. And like, what else do I have to look forward to?
Yeah.
I really want to.
What?
I'm going to say it. This is like my moral belief
Do it.
that I'm pushing on.
Do it.
Work is good. If you do not have work, this kind of stuff happens. Unsatisfaction.
But do you agree with the book that, well, I think the mom is supposed to summarize it. She's pretty much says, the problem here is that we have defined all of our value off of work. So that's the whole thing. Like, because that's why the robots are so upset once they're out of work. It's like, I have no value then. Self-esteem just plummets.
Well, she the way I interpret it is like the production value, or like how much you produce.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the thing, right? Like if you're not working.
Yeah. And so what I'm saying is not necessarily like you at a job, like producing as much as you can, but more so having a goal to strive for.
Yeah.
Yes,
that
So,
you're
yes.
working towards.
so what you're saying is that, we need...
That fulfills you, of course.
Yeah, you need something that provides self-fulfillment. It doesn't necessarily have to be a job for an employer or, something, or even
It's
something...
not something necessarily that's going to make you $1 million a minute.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. But just something that you can feel like you are, you self-ascribed value, really.
I mean, I don't think that's hard to agree with. Yeah, you should probably have goals in life that you want to achieve. Like even if they're tiny things, it's something to center yourself on. Yeah. Otherwise you feel just aimless. But there's the whole book is more veered towards the robots. I don't think the robots consider that maybe painting a picture is going to be an interesting thing for them. They're like, what's my job? What's my value to society as far as like work?
Yeah.
Am I not working hard enough kind of thing?
Yeah, even the there is at the beginning I forgot about this a little bit. The gosh, it had a funny name, but I can't remember it. The actor robot that wins an Oscar.
What is it? Emotional manipulation algorithm 49 or something.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't remember they did.
That was really good. Yeah.
But yeah, so like, they even have robots for the arts, but it's not, it's still their job. And, you can kind of maybe make the assumption without directly, like, getting any narration from that particular robot that they don't find fulfillment from it, necessarily because it's just, what they were told to do, what they're good at kind of. And so, yeah, he probably gets fulfillment in the schema of the society where it's all like, oh, I got an award. That means I'm doing good. But like to actually have satisfaction in the art form of acting, it's because he isn't acting. He's emotionally manipulating.
I mean, that is kind of the feature, right? Like, how good is this algorithm at manipulating my emotions?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I don't know, where to go from that exactly, but
I just want to talk about Talking About. That show's great.
Muffin Lord.
Yeah.
Great in how irritating like one of the robot is.
I did really like, just the setup of like two robots and one human. It's like provide the human perspective, but like leading, like where
What
you.
is it? Yeah, the moderator is a robot.
No, I love his phrase. So, I forgot her name. Like, we'll say Abigail, but that's not her name.
I mean, she's just the host. Yeah, the human host.
Yeah. She's like, so, as our token human, I was like, I read that and I was like, well, I see where this host lies.
Yeah, one of the spoiled pets thing, because they literally call the humans spoiled pets. Like, why aren't you satisfied being a pet to us? We take care of your every need.
But yeah, after that, Bubble Atlanta.
No,
Orlando, yeah.
Orlando's-
Because it was Florida style.
Okay.
They had an amusement park, too, which I think was supposed to be.
Yeah, because basically Disneyland.
Yeah.
Yeah, so after that incident, the other host of that show was like,
Oh my
maybe
God.
it was like worth it, And I'm like, what?
Do you like when I think Razorball goes to work and they're talking about it, and the other bot, the one who's trying to encourage him to disable his empathy chip, was like, they probably experienced a pretty great time when they were dying of lack of oxygen.
I read the article of that title. I was just like, oh, man.
Yeah.
It's fun how you can spin things, huh?
Yeah.
I really liked the part. I think this was part of the news report where it was like, it was Orlando, like, you know how they are. They weren't. That's what they say.
They weren't the best people.
Yeah, they weren't angels.
Yeah. Like, oh my
Darn,
gosh.
you know those people at Disneyland.
I will say, like, I didn't necessarily see this coming, but like, yeah, it makes sense that this happened because Razorball had his friend try to talk to like upper management.
Oh yeah.
For the job.
I just knew that was gonna happen. He
I
doesn't
didn't.
have an empathy chip, so what does he care?
Yeah. And so the people were like, "Oh yeah, did you?" Razorball talks to him later. He's like, "So did you talk to the upper management?" And he's like, "Oh, well, this is awkward."
This is awkward. I got the job.
And when he said this is awkward, I was like, "No, he didn't."
Yeah,
And
and
then
then
bring out the cake. Congrats on your promotion, Kilroy.
and then that was so funny. They were all like, "What do we do with this cake now? I guess we'll just throw it away."
For real, like, what are they gonna do? They're gonna eat it?
Yeah,
Wait a minute. That's a good point. Why would they bring it out anyway?
it's
I mean-
purely for
It's
like
being human.
Yeah.
Right? Like
The
just
human
mimicking-
aesthetic.
Yeah, I think that's a layer of well, it's not subtext, but it's like, I guess context basically of this story that I really enjoyed was like the way that the robots are still like going along with acting human in some way. Like, I mean, I really laughed at the part they said, "See you later, Terminator," in a while rotary dial.
Oh yeah.
It's like they have all of these like robot specific things of like human phrases and customs and stuff. And if they don't have a robot specific version, they just do the human version and then like don't do the part that they can't do, like cake. They can't eat it.
I mean, I think that's kind of the thing with robot analogies that is slightly inherently flawed, where it's like, because they are trying to mirror a real life topic in this satire, and we're not really going over stuff we liked, are we? We're just,
Yeah.
I don't
Kind
know.
of.
I mean, I liked all of everything
Yeah.
I just mentioned.
Yeah, I guess we're just sort of going over it. Lost my train of thought. Okay, so inherently flawed in robot analogies is the fact that the implication that these robots are not human and they are just pretending to be human. They're just mimicking what humans do. Or are they, human and then, they've been programmed in such a way that they do feel this way. They're not just
Do you know what tried to answer that question?
say it.
Alex and Ada.
No, it did. That is the inherent problem.
What do you mean?
I was wondering when that book was going to come up.
So no,
I
but
saw that on sale the other day, and I was like, no, I'm not touching you.
I will say, like, in their own way, they tackled the same issue. I guess I don't know if
So
that's
did
the best way of saying
million
that.
other love robot things. Just go watch her. Just go
No, no.
watch Detroit Become Human.
I guess it's more of a subplot with human being and robot tensions within Alex and Ada.
It's not a subplot. That is the main plot, isn't it?
I mean, I consider
It's the main
Alex and
plot
Ada's,
Their
love story is the
beautiful
main
love
plot.
story.
Yeah,
The love
beautiful.
story where they have like one moment where they're like, maybe I don't want to be with you because humans hate robots. And then they run away for like 5 panels and then they come back and they're like, I missed you. I'm sorry. I don't remember much about that book, but I'm sure I was right. But what
I don't think so, but okay.
recounted. Yeah, you liked that book, so we probably have distinctly different memories of it.
Yeah. Anyway, about the point of like
The analogy.
yeah, the analogy and like because it's like you can kind of look at it like there's like Blade Runner where it's like the robots became so human like that it was like ridiculous to even treat them like objects. They are subjects.
I mean, that's the thing I like about those kind of ones like Blade Runner, Ghost in the Shell, where it's the idea that at some point I am able to act so human. Does it matter that I am not human? Because I do feel this way. I do have these emotions. At what point? What's the point of not treating me human if I'm able to act as human? I don't know.
Yeah, they won't like my answer.
I remember your answer from Alex and Ada.
Yeah. And then but yeah, it's like I guess does it matter then with these robots? They don't obviously the mandroids do look human, but I was specifically talking about the robots before the mandroids. They can't eat, they don't look human, so like is that, but they do still feel and have like cognition and stuff like that. So like, are they subjects or objects? And like, honestly, like it seems like the humans, like unlike Blade Runner, the humans are more the second class kind of, thing. So it's like, it's almost like the robots are treated with more humanity than the humans. But at the same time, they're not too,
Yeah.
because it's like they're still humans, as part of the council. So,
I think that's kind of where, there's the two sides, and they try to portray it as one against the other. And I think, of course, the subtext is there that either way, the council is going to come out on top. The House always wins, and they benefit from pitting these two groups against each other, because the problem isn't necessarily that, oh, you have all the control and we don't, which both sides seems to feel. It's the fact that either way we're being exploited. Oh yeah, so I should probably say what he says it's about.
All
So
right.
do you want to guess what the robots represent?
I'm gonna say, probably well, the thing is that it could be a lot of things.
I do want to hear what your guys' feelings about it are before we say.
Like, there's definitely an element of like racial tension. There's like also the name implies, like, obviously it's an allusion to the phrase that's popped up online more and more over the years, like not all men. So like there's probably like some gender stuff to gender discrimination allegory. But yeah, I guess like, and then of course like the overarching conflict of the council and then the two groups is, classist. So yeah, I would say that it's like, it's pretty intersectional, but generally like I'm thinking like race-based violence, but under a general like classist lens.
And I have no idea.
Think about it for a moment, Taylon. What did you ever consider?
No, I never considered
So
like.
that's the thing. Did you go into this and not go, oh, this is satire? Because I thought you said, like, after reading it, that this is topical or something. I don't know.
No, I said that, like, within the world building, I enjoyed the political intrigue.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
no, I didn't read this and was like, that's clearly talking about this political issue.
Well, I mean, yeah, the name pretty much hits it on the head, what he feels it's about. So, toxic masculinity.
Okay. Gotcha.
Huh.
Yeah. I have to think. So do you think you could summarize his reasoning? Does he give reasoning or does he just say?
Please do. I need more explanation.
I mean, it's the not all men response, and he came up with the idea literally when the Me Too movement was coming up, and I didn't read the entirety of it, so I might be missing some stuff. Yeah, it seemed to actually be about the experiences being shared by women as opposed to airing their own grievances. Yeah. It really is summarized in the way, like, the way he pits the robots versus the humans, that they both are having problems and they're blaming it on each other instead of the overall structure that's been created.
Interesting.
So thinks that humans. Wait. So in this analogy, is it like women versus toxic men, or just men versus toxic men?
I think it's toxic masculinity and women and men, and how, women are like, I hate when men are, when people exert toxic masculinity, and then what is it? The response is to say not all men instead of recognizing a larger problem.
Yeah, it's because like, I mean, because with the title, when I was first reading it, I was like kind of expecting something like that. And so like with the bot news, it was like, in the human correspondent, I could kind of see, it was like, okay, 2 male anchors and a woman anchor. And it's like,
Yeah, and she also used the term metal splaining.
Yeah.
Oh, that one was so dumb. It's like, what does this mean? But he says, yeah, in short, we act like robots programmed for someone else's benefit and yet incapable of imagining any other possibility. I wrote this hoping that we might all think of the ways our sense of privilege has made us willing jailers in the prison that holds us. How we, imagining this privilege, have allowed ourselves to become robots. And what a nightmarish world that creates for everyone around us.
Yeah, okay. I can see it a lot better. I'm not saying that I agree that that's like the satire is almost like less effective, but I can see where it's coming from a lot better.
I do think that you're right that this isn't necessarily, should be kept to one subject like toxic masculinity or the gender inequality, because I do feel like it is kind of a timeless problem. Well, not timeless, but a problem of our time of several different things where people are like, you have too much privilege, and then the people who have privilege are also like stuck in their own thing where they're like, if I have privilege, why does my life suck? It's like, maybe, it's your fault for saying I have this much privilege.
Well, I mean, I would then also say that Mark Russell seems to think that those people don't have privilege.
I do think it is the thing of if we give you enough benefits, you won't realize that we're ripping you off too, kind of thing. Where it's like, in the end, who's coming out on top? The council.
Right.
There's a very select few people who are coming out on top because the system is rigged.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like, see, the thing that like gets me about the idea of like it being toxic masculinity and like gender inequality is just that like it feels like there's like a lot of like unrepresented, which like granted maybe like it's like this is just the first 5 issues, and like read on, there will be more, but I'm all like, if this is like about gender, then where's like cyborgs and like, like, and I guess like whatever the analogy for trans people would be. And it's like, it seems
People that think they're robots.
Well, it wouldn't be, it would be people who are robots.
I mean, it would be cyborg, right?
Yeah, well,
Or
I mean,
the other way around.
Yeah. Some like a.
I do feel like it's something that could have been included because it is a larger topic.
Yeah, but because it seems like I get like, what was the 4chan thing?
Oh, 4chan or something.
Yeah.
That was silly. He's like, Razorball is just like rejecting his family. I can't remember. I think they're trying to be nice to him. Oh yeah. Don't they have Welcome Home Snowball?
Yeah.
And he just goes on his computer to 4chan. That one, I think the 4chan thing felt a little too on the nose.
Right.
It's like, of course, okay.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so.
You can be toxic without being on 4chan, dude.
Yeah, it's weird that basically there's like this like human resistance and robot resistance when usually the thing with toxic masculinity that leads to like individual violence, incel, like, shooter violence. Like that's kind of what we've seen in reality. It's not really people grouping up together.
Well, it's they feel a sense of community with other people who feel isolated by society.
Right. I guess that's true. Yeah.
But they aren't necessarily meeting each other in real life. I feel like it's almost, he wrote it with toxic masculinity in mind at first, like the premise, and then it became more generalized. So in some ways it does lose a little bit of the like specificality.
Okay. Yeah. If that's like the claim that it just started there, then I'm fine with it.
Well, he said it started there.
Okay.
I don't think he doesn't say necessarily that it became about anything else.
Okay, fair. Cool. I didn't mean to make you the defender of like, just
According to the ancient text.
No, okay, then that still works for me then. Okay. Yeah. And even then, it actually works for me more that like, okay, this just has elements of that, and I can definitely see those elements.
I'm gonna say I just don't see women and men hacking each other up on the streets. I mean,
Right.
isn't the problem with that actual topic is a larger one, which we won't get into, is also the fact that it's just so insidious that the violence feels isolated to small pockets, but it is a larger thing. I don't know.
Yeah, it's
So-
like you think that
It's
You
such a
don't-
weird. It's a weird representation to have the hairdressers versus the robots just out in an open square, just duking it out. Because I think it is scarier, the fact that, like, what's scarier to me than people coming out in a protest square and just hitting each other is what's happening separately that cannot be seen, like behind closed doors kind of thing. Like, what was much scarier to me was the idea that Razorball was going to do something in their own home. They're like,
Yeah.
we're not even going to lock our doors anymore. Like, we can't stop you. And I think that's scarier than being out in open place.
yeah.
And
definitely.
also, towards the beginning of the story, they have that moment that was so, where it goes, oh, our housebot is hurting us or murdering us.
Oh, yeah.
And then the police show up, and there's just the robot at the front door covered in blood. And they're like, no violence, no.
it should be stated the police are robots.
Yeah.
Yes, the
yeah.
police robots just close the door and leave, and they're like, no violence happening here. Humans are so silly.
Yeah. And then later on when they're all like, oh yeah, one of the jobs that the human or the mandroids, that's right, the mandroids aren't suited for is police, but they're going to go through some sensitivity training.
Now get through this quickly so we can get back to bashing heads.
Yeah.
Well, so the police are going through sensitivity.
Right.
Yeah.
I,
It's so cute.
I will say, like, there's also a part where Cheryl, the Walter wife, goes to Inhuman Resources,
Oh my god. Yeah.
but, like, she's asked, has the robot ever been violent to you? And I think she remembers a time where it was, but she was like, no.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, I don't know what that's supposed to mean.
That's the thing. I feel like the way the mother is, I don't feel like she would have protected the robot. I don't know. I don't understand why she said no, because I don't feel like in any way she feels allegiance to the robot.
No.
Whereas if the dad was with her, he would have like interrupted her and been like, no, it's fine. Because he's such, in some ways, Stockholm syndrome, I guess, is what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
kind
Or
of
the
thing.
dad has Stockholm?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably not. But that could be something maybe you could try to say.
Yeah, maybe a like layman's understanding, just like basically having an abusive presence in your home and like, rather than being against it, cherishing it.
See,
Well, trying to protect it because this
Yeah.
is my family unit. Like, even if we make mistakes, it's fine. It's our family.
Yeah.
That's what I have the most confusing time with this analogy is where the dad is supposed to fit in with this. Because I look at him and I'm thinking, well, this is like, I guess, our symbol for men right here in this analogy. Like, because this is the closest guy that we come to know.
Well, Razorball, if we're supposed to look at the toxic masculinity part of it, Razorball is the toxic part of the husband who acts out violently and such. And then the dad is also the toxic part, which goes back and is like apologizing. No, it's okay. I'm sorry. This happened kind of thing, I think.
Yeah. That kind of makes sense that they're like two sides of the same coin. And they also, he's the human dad, he is like, congratulating him, even though he is like, he doesn't bring in that much money. He, is antisocial, usually mean, sometimes physically abusive, apparently. But he's all like, he's so great. And it's like, if you imagined them as one person, it's, I'm so great,
Well, it's like we have nobody else to rely on, so we better be grateful for what we do have, kind of thing. And so in that way, him lashing out at himself, I understand you feel inadequate. That's why you're being mean. It's like, I am not inadequate, Razor just butting right back.
Man, I really like that a lot more, like kind of like a Tyler Durden, Fight Club kind of thing, where it's like they're the same person, and whenever they talk to each other, it's just self-talk,
Yeah, I definitely don't think the analogy is perfect as far as, because I do think it becomes too generalized.
See, like this is a different story entirely, but like I would have much preferred this idea that like the patriarch of the family, like not in the negative sense, but the dad, right?
Yeah,
is like weak, right? And I'm more like traditionally minded, so like I would say that he's supposed to be protector of the house, kind of thing, and like Razorball is that like threat to the family, and he's just whimpering. And so I would have liked more of the analogy of he needed to step up.
I mean, he did need to step up.
Right.
He couldn't. I mean, if we look at it as two sides, two parts of a person, everybody is capable of being abusive or toxic in some way, and it is up to them to not be that way, to not give in to that. The easy way out of being a mean person. Or
even a passive person.
Well, that's the problem. Like that part of him that wants everybody to get along and be nice is too passive to the point where it is, a doormat.
Yeah.
I want less conflict, and if less conflict means rolling over, then I'll roll over and let anything happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I don't know if he talked to Snowball sooner, would that have helped? Because he's too scared at the same time. He's like, I'll just leave your smoothie right here.
Yeah.
And it's like, go in and talk to him, the mother says. You're the only one who's willing to.
See, I feel like his position should have been like, no, you are ours, okay? You make the money, but do not know your place. That's what I would have read. But like, does that fit the analogy?
Well, is that also along the other problem of like, I'm not just something that works for you. Like,
well,
taking advantage of someone, you're just the breadwinner. Like, go out and win some bread. Like, your opinion doesn't matter, like, kind of thing. I don't know. That's the thing, right? Is it just an extreme from there? Like, is there, if you're balanced with it, is it okay for one person to be the breadwinner and everybody else to be solely dependent on it? Like, we're not going to see it because obviously this is, part of the analogy, but is there families out there where they get along with their robot and the robot's fine with going out and working for them?
See, what I imagined was continuing the analogy of just having like two sides of the same coin. Like, I imagine more of the robot, like continuing with the idea of it being toxic, like the human dad being like more of the, like him taking control, but in a righteous way. Like, it is my job to do this. Like, I'm going to maintain like control of like myself, kind of thing.
Are you saying that you were looking for maybe more of a personal arc for Donnie? Like,
well, absolutely yes.
Yeah. Okay.
but I guess like to me, this is not what I thought of as I was reading it, but just thinking about it now, like I think it would have been interesting to see it more as like, I guess when I say Donnie's like going to that robot and saying like, okay, no, you work for us kind of thing. You make us money. Like that's not necessarily like trying to make something an object, but that is more of trying to control yourself, like, and make sure that.
Well, okay, yeah, I see what you're saying
Yeah.
kind of now. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I guess, but like, I guess if you are saying that is part of like, they are the same being though, then isn't that like just further, like that's just kind of Razor Ball's like position a little bit, like it's a little bit like, this is what I have to do, this is my job and I have
I'm the
to.
only one who brings value to this table.
Yeah.
See, but like I'm saying, like while it's a similar argument, it's coming from a different place. Because like to me, and I imagine if the dad made that argument, that's more of him being like, okay, I know my role, like, and I want to do it well. Not in a, well, I'm better than you now kind of thing.
Yeah, I guess it's like, why should he want to do it? Like, why is it there?
And that's why I'm like, because of me being more traditionally minded, like, because that's
There's
typically
value in the different roles,
yeah.
being that stereotypical role.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's like, it basically that's.
I mean, it's nice in theory kind of thing.
Because
That's what I feel.
I kept reading Donnie, and I was just like, I was mad at him because like he is not. To me, I just like, this guy is not a man. This guy is.
I
just
think
a
in
wimp.
general, like, even if, no matter his gender, I think that guy's a wimp.
Yeah.
Like, if you see someone across the street get a robot that looks like your husband, are you just gonna stand there and be like, okay, that's cool? Like,
That's fair.
like if the mom saw them get a little Donnie, that would have been so bad.
Gosh. Yeah. And also I just have to say that this like when I read The Family, like basically for the first time and onward throughout the book, and I'm not sure how much you guys are as familiar with the show, but I basically like I read them with the voices of the family from Rick and Morty. Like Donnie is basically like Jerry's voice, and the son, like not as much Morty because Morty's a little bit more like reserved, but like basically like Beth is Cheryl, because like they basically have the same personalities of just like, hating the dad and the dad being like totally just like
A pushover.
a pushover. Yeah.
I mean, I didn't do that, but I think just in the same way, like you can see Razorball and Donnie as being sort of the same thing. I think the family unit in general, the family itself, they all sort of have this very similar concerns, and it just feels like one person talking to itself, kind of, because the kids, all their concern is with the robots. Like I expected when they talk to the kids for the like therapy session, I expected the kids to be like, well, I'm not getting along with Samantha at school because her robot housebot is so much cooler than ours, or something like that. The kids were like, no, I'm worried about my future, man. Like, what am I gonna do? I just have to be dependent on someone, and I hope that they're nice to me.
Yeah.
I have no real agency or power in this situation, which Razorball feels too.
Yeah. Which,
Yeah, no, I have no experience with Rick and Morty, so I did not get that.
yeah, that's fair.
But no, totally Jerry.
Yeah.
Jerry style.
But yeah, that is kind of interesting that you bring up like, the kids and their concerns and like, the idea of like, it being toxic masculinity, because it's like, yeah, I guess like I think this might be true about Mark Russell in general. I feel like from what I've read is that generally his teenage, child characters are a little bit more aware and adept to the situations that are happening in his satire.
Those kids are ready to become hairdressers and fight for the resistance.
Yeah, you know.
More than that shampoo specialist.
Yeah, definitely.
Yep.
Because it's like we saw that in Prez, you know, a little bit. Even though she kind of like really takes stuff downhill a little bit, you know, she's at least like thinks she knows what she's doing, you know, and even though we haven't read his Flintstones, that kind of happens too with like the Pebbles and Bam Bam character. Sounds so silly.
That Flintstones comic was good, I heard.
Yeah, it is. It was. It's basically what made me a fan of him as a satire writer. But basically, yeah. So but like, it is kind of almost unrealistic in some ways. Like, I think that they would be concerned about it, but it's weird that they're so easily seeing the root of the problem.
And it's the only thing they ever want to talk about.
Yeah.
You never hear them talk about anything else. Because, I mean, that's all these characters are here to do, is to care about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we could probably officially go on to what we didn't like. We've kind of...
Not much to say.
There's not much to say.
I mean, that is sort of the thing where it's like, in the end, this is about this larger message and this larger theme kind of thing. And the plot is, we're just going to explore what happens with this, I guess.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of day in, day out, day in, day out. And the thing is, the world is set up in such a way this has to come to a head. There is going to be bloodshed. And it just happens that the family gets caught up in it, too.
Right.
I mean, they didn't have to be out there. Like, Razorball just sort of left with his weapons.
Yeah, they didn't have to. They felt a sense of, like, duty, I guess, you know? Like, basically, the kids... Well, yeah, not even duty necessarily, but, like, a sense of, like, you know, I guess duty to themselves. Yeah, helplessness, yeah.
And they want to take control in the same way that Razorball Snowball wants to.
Yeah, and then, like, you know, the parents are all like, well, specifically Cheryl, and then, of course, Donnie is just like, okay, I'll roll over and do what you want to do.
The moment he walked in and saw those weapons, and Razorball is like, I'm going to play.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
I need this battle axe for a play I'm in.
And I'm just like, did he ever talk about that before?
Yeah.
Did that ever come up? No.
When is your robot going to do a play?
Yeah.
That is the
You
question.
didn't ask questions like, oh, when is it?
Yeah. Can I come see it?
No. It's for robots only.
That's sus. What do you mean?
Well, according to the Shakespearean Times, we're doing only males for this play, including for the female roles. Also, no women allowed in the audience. So dumb.
Yeah. When the kids were like, yeah, we're just gonna go to the salon or whatever, and he was like, hey, no, you're not. I know what. Oh gosh.
I know what goes on there.
Yeah, and then he's like, so basically, it's like they're just trying to tell you that robots are dangerous to you.
And that's
they're lying.
dangerous.
Right.
Well, he says it's too dangerous for you to go there. They're just going to tell you, you know,
Yeah.
brainwash you that robots are dangerous. And she's like, well, if it's not dangerous,
The
then why
kid,
can't
yeah.
we go?
Yeah.
It's like,
Then there's no
oh.
harm, right? And the dad's just like, oh, I guess you're right. I was just like, are you kidding
the
me?
kids are like, well, you know, in the time it takes you to come up with whatever the danger is, we're going to go. So come tell us.
No. You do not let your kids walk out on you. No.
Yeah, that's okay, not actually what you're saying, like, you know, but I didn't really like that Donnie, like, especially in that part, was so, like, Homer Simpson, you know? He was like, you know, basically Cheryl was like, where's the kids? And he was like, oh, they went to the hair salon. And he was like, why'd you let them go to the hair salon? And he was like, they were being so smart and mean. Like,
I think that was the part I read, and I just had to, like, turn off my phone and walk away. I was just so mad.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like, so far we've been like told to like take this world like fairly seriously. Like it is like satire, so it's comedy, but that was just a little bit too cartoony where it was like
Yeah, I think it's just the dialogue there
See?
mostly.
yeah.
See, to me, that, like, I keep looking at Donnie, like, specifically him, you know? And so I don't really see it, like, he doesn't seem to fit the analogy that Mark Russell was going for, to me. But if we take it in the idea of, like, he's two sides of the same coin with Racerball, then, okay,
you
it
see
fits a
that?
little better.
Yeah, because that's the thing, right? Like, people aren't just mean. That's the thing. Well, most of the time, that's the problem. It's insidious. Like, that person's nice to me. What do you mean that they're beating you up, like,
Yeah.
at home?
Right.
It's like, he baked me muffins the other day. He can't be a bad person.
Yeah.
Which is true for, like, no matter the gender, honestly. Like, there is going to be a part of that person that seems, I don't know, friendly. Not
Yeah.
always, but, you know, that is how it is most of the time. And that's the most dangerous part. Because, like, if someone's just mean, then, yeah, everybody's going to know that.
Yeah.
But if they can seem nice part of the time,
Mm-hmm.
or seem, what is it? It's not non-hostile.
Non-combatant?
No.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah, yeah. It's basically like even if they even have like a kind of like they seem standoffish, if they can even present like nice, because like generally people don't
Non-threatening.
non-threatening. Yeah,
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
This person's not a threat.
Mm-hmm.
Let them into your life.
Yeah, and that's the thing too about it too is that like people don't want to imagine confrontation either, so they will like kind of jump through hoops even to be all like nah, they're not they're not toxic, they're not abusive,
And in some ways people who are abusive do that too, because you do not usually see yourself as the bad person.
Right.
So you have to justify it to yourself somehow. So yeah, him talking to himself in that way, I do feel is him justifying it.
Yeah.
Like, you guys don't understand. You don't appreciate him enough, like what he does.
Yeah.
If you guys just weren't so darn ungrateful, he wouldn't be so darn mean. God, he's trying to stab them. He does stab them.
Yeah.
I did not expect the story or the first volume. For some reason, because we read 2 volumes in the previous episode for the other story, I, for some reason, thought there was 2 volumes for this. So I was like, okay, they're going to like have all this build up and it's going to start right at the end of volume 1, like the battle, like the tensions between robots and humans. And then the family will get caught up in it somehow. And then, then there'll be volume 2 where we really see like a payoff to a lot of this stuff. But no, they had that in volume 1. They put a lot of stuff into volume 1. And in some ways, I don't feel like... I guess I can see how it escalated, but it was almost too jumpy in some ways. Because the story itself, the panels are very much... it's more about what's being said than what people are doing in panels
Yeah.
in some ways. And I think, well, we'll talk about the art soon, but I also I don't like that art style, but I can see how it works well for this kind of story. This is supposed to be real world analogy, and things are very realistic. The humans are just too stiff for me. They look like those there's comics online people do where they like just pose 3D models for it. And that's all they do. They just take a picture of that. Like, or some people even do it with their Sims characters where they just have Sims acting out things and they take pictures of it. But so yeah, it was like people stuck instead of people doing something. They don't feel like they're quite in motion. And so it feels like snapshot, 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 which I think kind of lends itself to this story. On its own, though, I just don't really like it. That kind of style. That's all I'm going to say, pretty much. Like, it works for the story. I don't typically like this style, though. I don't think it would have been the same feeling with the story if it was a really fluid, like, pretty comic like that.
Yeah.
it wouldn't have felt as real world analogy. It's very realistic in the way it does it.
Yeah, I think I agree with you that it does do those things. I'm not sure that it's necessarily better for it. I feel like it maybe would have been a little bit better if I don't know, I'm trying to figure out how to say it. Basically, just that in my opinion, I feel like if we had gotten a little bit more, I don't know, connection with some of the characters. I mean, and that goes into, like you were saying, about the kids, and only caring about the robot world.
Because it is all around this certain topic.
Yeah.
And I would say that you can see the weak points of the style, the art style, and in general the pacing style when it comes to more character-driven moments, or also the action scenes where you're supposed to feel like they're in danger. Because a lot of the story feels like you are observing a real world, an actual world, just kind of happening. You're observing it. And so that's kind of a problem. You don't feel as engaged with it at parts like the robots fighting their humans. It's just sort of like, I don't know, pictures frozen in time.
Yeah, for instance, we kind of alluded to it, but I'm not sure we really said it. Basically, Cheryl, in an attempt to protect her kids who are at this robot human, clash. Basically, she takes control of a forklift, I think it is.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and kills Razorball.
She pins him to a wall.
Yeah.
And just smash.
Yeah, and so that results in her being charged with murder. And she, unlike the robot at the beginning that kills a bunch of humans, for one robot murder, she does not get acquitted, and she's guilty, and the punishment is banishment. So she has to go out into the, the rubble, fire burned outside world. And there's also, leading up to that, though, there's a point where there's a bunch of looters, basically, that have been surviving for the last 10 years outside the bubble city, and another group of survivors, and basically they try to hide in this heap of rubble, but then the looters find them and they shoot and kill one of them, but another one, a little child named Tot, stays hidden in the pile, and they don't find him, but basically the person that they shot was his mom. And so, getting back finally to what we were just talking about is that, that's a very, human kind of moment, and character-driven moment. And it's a good reaction on Tot's face, he looks surprised, sad.
But he's just little orphan child that they adopt.
Yeah.
I mean, that is his role.
And there's nothing that the art particularly adds, I feel to that. So yeah, I guess that was a long-winded example. I didn't mean for it to be, but yeah, I just feel I agree with,
Yeah, those moments where it's more about what the characters are going through individually instead of in this bigger problem of society. When they're out in the wasteland, it just doesn't... I think also the problem is, in some ways, the character design. They are so generic that I was having trouble a lot of times. The one dude, they have, the dad, he's so generic. All their designs are very generic. They have a Mandroids commercial where this man is being carried by his female Mandroid. And it looked like the dad. I was like, is that the dad? There's other times where there's a robot walking with a man, and they're like, yeah, we really pulled the wool over their head. That was, they didn't say that exactly, but the context, you understood they were saying that. And I was like, who are these people? Like, I don't recognize them unless they're in the same context as they usually are. Like if I saw the lady who's in the Talking Bot show, outside of Talking Bot show, I wouldn't know who she is.
Yeah, that's fair. I kind of get that because I didn't really have that much of a problem with it, but you're right in that context. If I'm not sure I'd be able to recognize her either.
Because I think there was times where we were supposed to recognize people outside of their usual place, like people from the council. Even when they weren't in the council together, I had a little bit of trouble recognizing them.
If that is the case, then yeah, I had that problem too. But I'm not sure if that was.
Well, you just might not have noticed.
Right, yeah. It's tough to say.
So I was flipping back and forth. I was like, who is this? Why am I seeing them? Why are they talking?
Mm-hmm.
Until like some other character was like, this is so-and-so.
Yeah.
Ted Fox from Omni, part of the council. I was like, oh, him.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have known.
Yeah.
Unless, so it's very dialogue driven.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, yeah, all the little jokes and stuff are very fun. But yeah, it is. If there wasn't the dialogue, sometimes I wouldn't know what's going on, like what action they're doing.
Yeah.
Or yeah.
Certainly.
Even when they go in to see what Snowball's doing in the garage, I don't totally understand. There's so much shadows used too. Sometimes shadows fall directly over people's faces, so you can't even really see their expression because it kind of doesn't matter. Like it's more matters what they're saying.
Right. Yeah.
Because they will tell you how they feel for the most part.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point because I feel like this is a pretty natural transition to fully talking about our opinions on the art. But because I remember I was looking at the shade or the shadowing being done on the son's face during the therapy session scene, I think. And I was like, oh, I really like that. But kind of trying to think about like how it really adds to the story or if it doesn't, I guess I'm not sure now.
I think it's like a very dramatic lighting in some ways, but it's always dramatic is the problem. Where I'm like, this is really weird. You guys just live in like a cave. Huh?
A firelit cave.
That's the thing. They always just have like the dark shadows over their face. I don't know necessarily whether it has to add a ton to the story, but it does seem to obscure stuff sometimes. Sometimes it got in the way. I definitely felt that. Sometimes I was like, I want to see what their face is feeling. But they're just like, I am frustrated with robot and human interaction or something. Yeah,
I also felt like, and this kind of is a little bit like what we were talking about last episode, it was like, I felt like I had to zoom in to because there was lots of fine detail, but I couldn't really actually see it, unless
with that action scene was a little bit hard with the protesters versus each other.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, there's too many bodies and they're not really distinct from each other. The important characters are in front, but it's the line work.
Yeah.
That's the problem. When there's too many bodies, there's so many lines that...
Yeah. What about you, Taylon? Do you have any?
No, I like the art.
Okay.
I did note. So, I did notice that a lot of the panels were not basically the scene was split into many different panels, and so I was wondering what was that stylistic choice, and I think she went to kind of answer that question when she said it's not about what's in the panels, but the
dialogue.
The point that it's trying to make. Kind of thing.
Right.
It's all snapshots.
Yeah. And yeah, I didn't really like that.
Just like looking at this panel, even when I zoom in, stuff can be a little bit hard. I think I think part of the problem is that I kind of read this fast because it is pretty easy to read. Even though it is text heavy, sometimes I was like, I gotta slow down and process everything that's being said to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because so like here, and then you see all the little dots, but then there's also the pure black, and it's like, I don't know, it hurts my head a little bit, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very odd mixture of everything, because like there's dots on the car, there's dots on the ground, but then there's also the pure black.
See, well, I guess to me, I just think of it as like a magazine. I was told more that's a magazine effect.
It's
a print effect.
Mm-hmm.
It is mimicking the print stuff. I wonder how it would look in print, actually. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm a little curious about that too.
Because I think I don't know if official name, but the name that I keep hearing is halftone.
Well, there's halftone sheets, but there's the actual. God, I'm trying to think of Into the Spider-Verse thing.
Ben-Day dots.
Yes,
Yeah.
Ben-Day dots. Because well, that's more of color, I guess.
Yeah.
Halftone is grayscale.
Okay.
But this is like when you actually do halftone, the dots are not this big normally because it's really distracting. In my opinion, I don't know.
Yeah, because man, I really need to like read up a little bit more on
halftone. The whole thing with halftone is it's the way to mimic grayscale. You gradient out.
Mm-hmm.
So like when you do like halftone sky. So that way certain parts of it can be seem darker than others because you do more dots there technically.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Okay, that makes sense.
You're not really supposed to notice that there's dots is the thing.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. This is an intentional because like I think that the idea of the dots was popularized by like pop art, so it's like it's supposed to have like this pop art feel kind of thing, but it's also kind of clashing with a more realistic character design and environment design too. So it's like using this like
because it's supposed to look like this. If you zoom in, you'll see the dots, but it looks like this because that's how you do it in print.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the problem I have with that too. It is definitely pop art style, which I don't like pop art too much. Well, I don't like pop art in comics as much. I like pop art as like
its own thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will say like
Didn't bother you though?
no, it didn't bother me. No. But what you said about the figures like being fairly like static.
Yeah.
Like I basically don't have anything intelligent to say other than like I recognize that. I still enjoy more realistic art, but I understand more that there are trade-offs with that. More cartoony feel allows more fluidity.
Yeah, I don't know. They feel like too stiff at some points where they're like instead of like they're running. I don't know. I'm just so used to manga too, where it's like everybody's moving at all times. We are all just swishing around, which can be distracting in its own way.
Yeah, I have to come back to the panels because I feel like we didn't like give it enough. Like, yeah, they do like kind of establish like this snapshot, but it's like, why is everything like? Why are the panels that are supposed to be one image so segmented so often? I'm like, that's just one image. Take the lines out.
I do think it is a stylistic thing where it's like this is the main focus, but notice things are happening beyond. Kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that there's no reason. I'm just saying that I don't.
I don't think it's a valid reason. Yeah, no, it's weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause in some ways, I think the composition is better if it's the full thing, if they don't cut it off right there.
Yeah.
But
and
for some reason they do.
Why
cut it
the
off.
black and white, like, what does that add? Why is it black, white here, black here? Like.
Okay, I'm going to say it feels like they're all Barbie dolls posing. That's what it is to me. I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, is that like... Maybe this is giving too much credit, but is that
we
like...
are all puppets.
Right, yeah, it's like they're robots, but everybody's robots.
God.
Well, I mean, that would fit what Mark Russell was going
That's
for.
the thing. The robots almost in some ways feel more like fluid,
Mm-hmm.
and then the people are so stiff when they're just like
Yeah.
posing. I don't know. I don't know if I can give him that credit.
But yeah.
Such a weird. It's so many. That's the problem again. I think it is one of those things where they're like, I don't know how to shade this. We're going to do every single shading style. So they have like the lines and then sometimes the dots, but then also the spot blacks.
Yeah.
We'll do it all. Don't you worry.
At least they're not using scumbling too. little like beard circles.
I got you.
It's like here again where it's like, I mean, the main action, you know what the main action is happening, but you're like, what the heck is going on with all this?
Mm-hmm.
It's just so many things. I don't know.
Yeah, and
Wait, can I see that?
Oh,
When
sorry.
we're throwing the robot back?
Just a second. I immediately moved away from it. Page 91.
And is this like a recap or something? Where that is?
They are showing Razorbot just being chucked.
yeah, it's a
Where it is a flashback. She's trying to argue to the justice spot. She goes, I had no choice. He was trying to kill my daughter. He would have killed us all. I acted in self-defense. And it's really interesting to me. We didn't bring it up earlier too much, the fact that why she got rejected. Self-defense is not a legal defense under the algorithmic justice code. It is merely your self-pitying way of saying that you traded the life of one productive citizen for 4 pointless ones. So it is that thing again where the justice bot is focused on productive
Yeah.
citizen over unproductive one. So the Orlando thing, you killed 200,000 pointless citizens. Oh well,
Yeah.
you're a productive citizen.
mm-hmm.
We can't kill you. We can't put you out of
I will say, like, I did actually try to Google, like, because in my mind, I'm thinking, I don't feel like she can claim self-defense because she was defending somebody else. Like, even in real life, like, I don't think that defense would hold up. And so after doing some Googling, like, there is, like,
Depends on the state, right?
yeah, most likely. But there also is this idea of protecting others or defending others.
Yeah, that's what
I felt
assumed.
in danger of my life. That's pretty much what you say. I
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Yeah, because if the person is willing to hurt somebody else, you don't know if they're willing to hurt you.
Yeah, I actually played the more like I felt myself as a prosecutor against her because I was like, let me
Devil's
make sure
advocate.
that this is right. And I was like, the idea with self-defense is that you use reasonable force against them to counteract, right? And I'm like, so running into a robot with the forklift, can that be considered reasonable? Maybe. I'm not saying it can't. I'm just
what if it was
questioning.
an accident? That's the thing, right?
Well, see, I don't feel like. Okay, again, self-defense is not an accident, so you can't even use that.
Okay, yeah, a totally different situation. But also that makes me think if she did just accidentally do that, I still think they'd find her guilty because they're like, hey, you're a pointless citizen.
Well, I think that would be considered manslaughter.
Yeah,
Oh,
definitely.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Robot slaughter,
Yeah.
bot slaughter.
And then the question is like, was the danger imminent? I can be convinced either way more on this one.
Well, you saw it happen.
Yeah.
But I'm sure she would say the danger was imminent.
Yeah. But it was like that, again, self-defense is like, danger wasn't to you, it was to somebody else. So,
I was
so
about
you
to
can see how I felt like a prosecutor.
I was gonna say, like, probably everything in their world is like videotaped.
Yeah.
Everything is under CCTV. But also that doesn't change it. Self-defense is not a defense in this world. So
Yeah.
even if the robot like watched the video and is like, there she is doing that thing.
The robot was attacking her. She destroyed the robot. You're still guilty.
How mean of her.
Man, I just realized, and I'm surprised I didn't think of this sooner because I've been like, kind of like really thinking of a lot of things in these kinds of terms recently. But I'm like, I just realized that, yeah, basically this whole world is like utilitarian. Like that's just what it is.
Yeah.
Is like, you know, if we want to like put a label on it for like this ideal of like productivity, it's utility. You know,
Yeah.
it's like yeah, and so yeah, basically, I guess you could say that more than a criticism of like toxic masculinity, it's a criticism of utilitarianism too, because it's like yeah, basically just you know, just because we're doing whatever promotes like the best for, you know, everyone doesn't mean that it's actually the best for everyone.
Well, it wouldn't even be best. It would be what makes people the happiest.
Right, yeah.
I mean, I think that is his view on toxic masculinity, is that it is part of that larger problem, like I said, where you don't realize this issue is being turned into just another thing to pit two people against each other, or two
Right.
groups against each other for a few people's benefit.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, how much benefit do you bring to those few people as
Yeah.
working citizens?
Yeah, I guess to clarify, are you kind of like making the case that it's like the, I guess, verbiage for toxic masculinity like kind of puts like men and women against each other? Like just in, I don't know, like I don't know. Basically, like, are you saying that like people, sorry, now I'm really distracted by that sound.
He's skateboarding.
Oh yeah.
He's just skateboarding on the tiles. You just
Yeah.
hear the slow
Yep. Anyway,
All right, try to.
so explain everything you just said, Suenta, again. Something about toxic masculinity, but like focusing on productivity. I think that's what we were last on.
Toxic masculinity is just another problem that will not be solved by this great, like, I don't know. It's, people always tend to pit it kind of these two groups, men and women, and it's us versus them, where it's like, there's like somebody benefiting from that argument.
Okay,
And
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I thought you meant, and I'm glad that you actually got the chance to reframe it because, yeah, that's what I was a little bit confused about. Basically, yeah, and I guess I should say I agree, yeah. You know, because, like, when I think of toxic masculinity, the way that I think about it, I guess, is just that, like, I don't know, you know, it is a problem, but it's not a problem where it's all, like, and men need to, like, you know, answer for it or something like that, you know. It's just, you know, it's just a thing that exists, you know. But now that I'm thinking of it in terms of, like, you know, people being pit against each other, because, like, men are, you know, naturally going to be defensive of that, you know. Like, yeah, it makes sense. But yeah, I don't know if there was anything else.
Would you read more of this?
Oh yeah. I'd say
Tell us your opinion, Taylon.
There is no more. It was a limited series run for 5 issues.
If there was, would you read more?
Yes.
okay. I'd say I might. Yeah, it was all right. I'm kind of like, yeah, interested in to know where the story goes more. It wasn't like so engaging though that I would like really hunt it down either though. So I'm kind of like I'm middle, you know.
That's funny. Okay, because, I mean, yeah, we didn't have too much bad to say about it, but I don't know. As far as like a toxic masculinity analogy specifically, It wasn't too bad. Like I said, I always feel like these robot analogy ones always fall into that problem of like, you're talking about a robot though, man. Like, we made those. We didn't make men.
Yeah.
Yeah, we make robots on our image, and they come inherent with our own biases because we made them.
Right. Yeah, it's kind of
But
like...
men are conditioned by society, and so are women, you know, and
Right.
everybody in between. Yeah, I don't know. I can't say too much I didn't like about it, and I found it funny enough, and I like how it combined the humor with the really dark stuff.
Yeah.
Just like, I really love that. The two kids are walking, and the car hits the person,
Yeah.
and it's just like you said, we already talked about this joke. You were entitled to like tier 2 compensation,
Yeah.
and just throws money at the like wounded human being on the ground. And the kids just keep walking because that's normal.
Yeah.
It's just an algorithmic glitch where we tend to hurt each other, or where robots tend to hurt humans. Yeah, I found it pretty funny. I'd read more of it. I do think one of the things I forgot to mention that I didn't super like was I do feel like they don't totally take advantage of the characters they do have. Like the grandma robot dies like in such an uneventful way. I was like the moment they were setting out with like this grandma robot that has like ads you have to skip. I was like, this is gonna be great because she's gonna have to say something, but she'll have an ad, so she won't be able to say it. So like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, you know, before this ad is over.
Oh, that's actually really...
Do you see what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's so much potential with certain parts of it that I felt like were underutilized. Like, and when they killed Razorbot, I would have found it much more interesting if they had to get along with him without his memories erased. It's kind of sad that his memories are just erased.
Yeah.
I would have preferred that they have Snowball out there too, but then they also get a robot maybe that who is also violent, who's had his memories erased. I don't know. There's a lot of potential there to explore with like the interactions and dynamics, and most of it just sort of comes to a head as far as like a punch out.
Yeah.
So it's like I would have liked a little bit more. I would have been interested in reading more because I wanted to see more conflict resolution. I don't know.
Yeah, and like also kind of looping back to what you said about the grandma bot, you know, like she was kind of just sacrificed to basically show that like, you know, robots can be reformed, I guess, you know, that they aren't necessarily like slaves to their programming, you know, because the mandroids are not supposed to be violent. We saw one just run away as its owner was like getting killed by other robots.
Yeah.
But like this one like directly sacrificed herself, you know, even though they hadn't really been together for that long either.
I mean, that's the thing. Also, like, did she have the grandma capabilities? Because she seemed kind of concerned for them.
Yeah.
And genuinely interested in going with them. But
Yeah.
that's the thing. Did the dad just have her programmed with like grandma feelings? Is grandma toxic? does grandma have toxic masculinity?
Right. Yeah, I mean, I'm tempted to say that she's just standard mandroid programming, you know, maybe a little bit of like grandma flavor, but not specifically that their grandma, you know. It's, yeah, because it's like, how do you even get that, like, you know, copying somebody's personality when they're not there?
Yeah, that's kind of what confused me too with the dad coming home with her, like having even look like her to the point where the kids confuse it for her. I guess he
Yeah.
had like a picture or something.
Yeah.
Which, that's really good work. Good craftsmanship. But, I mean, I don't really want to discuss it too much because we don't have too much time. But what do the mandroids represent in the sphere of toxic masculinity, right?
Yeah, it's like...
I want to make a bad joke here.
I mean, go for it.
Darn soy boys.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to say what they represent if it's like, yeah, it's like definitely like some sort of like sanitized.
It's probably more along the lines of like white knighting or patronizing, where you know, it's hard to articulate, but you know what I mean, what some people see, where it is that type of person who is willing to say like, oh, I'm here for you to like, but it's just words. They are
Right.
not willing to actually stand up for that belief. And in the end, yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
false allyship, like saying, I'm a feminist, but then like not actually like showing up in any like way.
Well, you show up to the protest, but
Right.
you're like,
yeah. Yeah.
fight for this, but then I'd be in danger.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm in danger. It's like, well, that's okay. I'm going to run away now.
Yeah.
Performative allyship.
Yeah.
Yes.
There we go.
Okay.
We got there together. Yeah. Also, okay. I just wanted, like you said, we're running out of time, but real quick, I wanted to say, because I remembered something that I didn't really like about this that I didn't mention earlier, is that sometimes Mark Russell's writing can be pretty samey. It's hard to describe because it's like different situations and like the jokes still land and stuff like that. But it's like, I don't know, the worlds still seem the same.
Yeah. Because we're supposed to feel like things are coming to a conflict head. But it doesn't change that much. You know?
Yeah.
They're like, we're scared for our life. We're going to sit around at the dinner table talking about it. It's like, do something.
Well, yeah, there's that, but like also just across his work, it's like I didn't feel very surprised because like I've read a Mark Russell satire.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can see that for sure. I don't remember too much of Prez anymore, but
Fair.
I get that feeling too that, yeah, I've been here.
Yeah.
The jokes are funny, but I kind of expected everything. That's the thing, I think. I expected everything in this book. There's not really anything unexpected that happened.
Yeah.
Other than maybe the mom getting thrown out. And the kids are just so easy to be able to just follow her.
Yeah.
They're like, let's just jump in a trash can. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Some of the things are just a little too, this is the plot, and so we're going to do it. Could it happen? Like, is there any obstacles? No, because this is the plot.
Yeah. I definitely
It's going to play out how I wrote it because this is the plot. Okay. So yeah, I'd read more.
Okay. Yeah. And
I like robots.
Yeah, and I'm a little bit interested, they definitely are like, oh, now we're in these outer lands, with like another wrinkle of stuff going on. So it's like, yeah, I'm somewhat interested to read more, just like I probably won't seek it out.
I mean, like Talon said, there's no more of this.
Yeah.
Which is a little sad.
And also, like, I mean, I believe him. It's just like I wasn't expecting it just because it said like end of volume 1.
I think they probably plan for more, and just things happen.
Yeah.
Can always work out.
That's fair. Yeah. I guess that's all the time we have for the show. Thank you for listening. I'm Cody.
And I'm Shawinta.
And thanks for listening to the comic panel. We'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening. And if you're watching us on YouTube, be sure to like and subscribe, as it helps us out in the YouTube algorithms and helping us being seen by more and more people. And be sure to hit the bell notification so that you won't miss a single video. And if you're listening to us on podcast format, be sure to rate and review our podcast, as that also helps us out in the algorithms and being seen by more and more people. Thank you, and have a blessed day.